Got it or not? You understand? Before introducing hooks, after once my 16.8 version they released, they introduced one of the concept called as hooks. Only for what? A functional component. Why they introducing hooks means, yes, there has some drawbacks or they're comparing with class component to my functional component. To overcome that drawbacks, they introducing these hooks. Once they introducing hooks, whatever we can do with the class component, yes, we can do with the functional component also. Okay, after 16.8 onwards, my functional component is not like a mute or dumb components. Okay, it's like what? Whatever we can do with the class component, yes, we can do with the functional component. At this point of time, now tell me, okay, hooks concept not introduced. Okay, we are not discussed about the hooks concept. So that which component is the recommended one? Do you want me to go with the functional or class? You should have to go with the class component only or not. Why? Because it's not a dumb. Okay, once it is displayed to the end user, you are performing some operation on this particular view or not. So you can go with the class component. Let's start. Now from here, this is my sum. Okay, write the class component. Now can you come here? My class, any name you can put it. Any name you can put it. Now can I write like react dom dot render is the method. Okay, which take how many arguments? React dom dot render take how many arguments? Okay, it's take like 3 arguments. What are those? Element, container, and callback. Callback not a discussed. Not a discussed. And one more question. This render method, difference what? Line number 23, line number 32. There is 2 types of render methods are there. Line number 23, one render method is there. Line number 32, also one render method is there. What is the difference between this render method and this render method? Can anyone? What is the difference between this render method? This render method coming from where? This render coming from my React.component. So this render is coming from React library, you can say. This render method coming from where? React DOM. The difference is the render which is coming from React, which is used for what? Prepare the content. Which is used for prepare the content. Okay, the render which is coming from React DOM, which is used for what? Render a content inside the container. Render a content inside the container. Okay, this is for prepare the content. This is for render a content inside the container. That is the main difference. That's it. Okay, now let's start. Now this is the one. Okay, document dot get id of root. Can anyone tell? Can anyone tell what is the error message now? Exact error message, tell me. Will it execute or it gives me an error? What is that error if it is error? First of all, React DOM is not there, right? First of all, React DOM is not there. See here, there is no library, nothing. Okay, line number 3 is executed. Line number 3. After that, it comes to my script. Okay, once class loaded, and then line number 11. Line number 11. Before come to this part, first of all, React DOM is there, and then render is there. Then only it comes to this part or not. React DOM is not defined. So can we get that one? Okay, script source equals to React DOM development dots. Yes. Okay, done. Next one. What is the error? Next error. Can anyone? Yeah, if you want to recognize this one like a component, or before loading this React DOM, my React DOM is depending upon React library or not. My React DOM is depending upon library, so that make sure before loading my React DOM, my React library should be loaded or not. Why? Because my React DOM is depending upon React library. So you can write like this. Okay, now if you come here, now can you check here? Where is that sum, right? This is the one. Can you go to my console? Now see, there is an error in the React development.js. It's internally used like React library only. Okay, the first error is this one. and the second one is like this one. We'll fix that one. Okay, so that you should have to load script source equals to react development.js. React development.js. Done. Now, if I refresh my page, it gives me one more error. What is that? Unexpected token. Why? Why unexpected token means, and this one by default, it's like what? JSX1. The JSX content should be rendered, should be compiled with what? Babel. So that you should have to load your Babel library or not. Okay, Babel. Now, will it give me an error or it will fix? Will it fix? Okay, it should have to write, you have to use like a text Babel. You have to compile like this or not like JavaScript. Now it's done. Now it gives me an error like what? Cannot call a class as a function. Why? Because this is like class, not like component. So that it should be extends from where? React.component. Okay, and then can we write like what? Render. And then return your content should be what? Your content, how many elements you can write, it's not a matter. That element should be inside, okay, inside or wrapped with one element or not, so that you can go with you. Otherwise you can go with empty element. Otherwise you can go with react.fragment. React.fragment. Okay, so that come here. Here you can write your stuff. What is our requirement? Now come here. Number one, this one, number two is this one. So that write it. Take one para, close your para, and here write like number one, and close my B. Okay, write one text box. Next, take one more para. Okay, my para is like which type of element? My para is like which type of element? Is it like black level or inline? It's like a black level. Okay, at the same time, it's like what? Para, if you take, it gives me some gap between one line to another line or not. By default, my para has some margin. So that you can use like para. When you go with para means I want line by line with some gap, then you can go with para. I can write like a button. Okay, here you can write like some, write like button. And finally here I want the result inside my h1. Okay, inside my h1 I want the result. That's it. Now can I refresh my page? Now see, this is only my view or not. This is only my template or not. Number one, number two, sum and 5. Okay, if you want to go here, you can hard code for this one for now. Now this is the one. This is our done. Now next one. First, prepare the template completed. Next, you should know how to handle the event in React. Okay, that's right. To whom you want me to handle the event? There has multiple elements over there, right? Okay, for the text box also I can handle it. For the button also I can handle it. For my h1 also I can handle it. So that can anyone tell some of the events? Okay, on text box, some of the events for button, some of the events for h1. Okay, here can anyone tell? For input you can say like one text box is there. Okay, input control events. Okay, here focus is one event. Focus. If you come out, blur. Okay, if you focus this one on key press, keep on pressing the keys. Okay, on key up, keyboard events, all keyboard events are going to apply for what? For my text box or not? You are entering something. Okay, on text box by using what? Inside the text box by using keyboard only, right? So that all keyboard events are going to apply for what? For my text box or not? Okay, if you made change here, then the time what is the event? On change my event or not? See, if you don't know the event, simply go to your console, write it. See, on if you write, these many events are there in JavaScript. These many events are there in JavaScript. There is no need to learn all. Okay, based on your go with that. Okay, see, on focus is there or not? On focus. On blur is there or not? Okay, on change is there or not? On keyboard, all keyboard. Okay, all keyboard operations also there or not? All these events are like what? Okay, for text box. So some of the events for button, tell me. Okay, some of the events for button. Okay, one is like you can say like on click, one of the event. The next one on double click also there, on double click also there. Okay, most of the times we are using like this event. Can anyone tell this one? Okay, one element h1 is there. It's like a static content element. See here, text box is there, dynamic content keep on changing. Okay, button is like what? There is no content, nothing. Okay, now h1 a static content element, we not change anything. Okay, for that can anyone tell me the events? Static content element, for that can anyone tell me the events? See, if I put my cursor on 5, that's also an event, right? Okay, all mouse events is going to apply on mouse events. See here, mouse down or mouse enter. If I put my mouse inside my h1, mouse enter. If I release mouse leave, mouse move, like this, all mouse events we can apply for what? We can apply for your muted elements is like h1 do, these all are static elements. Okay, like this different events are there. So you know the event name. Okay, to whom I have to apply one of the element. So by using React, how I can apply one event to one element, that's it. If you know that one, remaining all events also same or not? Okay, let's start. You know, in our requirement, okay, which event to whom you want me to apply? First of all, you should know the event name. The next one is what? To which element you want me to apply? Here, my event name is what? On click. To which element you want me to apply? Button or not? Button or not? So that let's write here. See, if you want to do some extra thing, if you want to tell something about my button, how we can tell? By using an attributes only or not? By using an attribute only or not? So that my event we are going to pass like an attribute for this particular button. Which event? On click. So that can we write it? On click. On click. That's it. Can I copy this one? Control A, Control C, and paste. Paste. Okay. Now this is my event name. If it is like a JavaScript one, if it is like a normal JavaScript button, okay, then the time you can write an event name is like this. Okay, because this is like a JavaScript one. But here in your React, all your events is like a camel case. It's like a camel case. So in your JavaScript directly you can use like this. Directly you can use like what? Okay, all are like what? Lowercase letters only. But the same event name never change. The same event, if you want to apply inside React is nothing but this content we can say like what? HTML or JSX. Inside a JSX, if you want to apply an event to one element, that event is like a camel case letters, not like a lowercase. If it is like a normal, okay, so that where you want me to change on camel case C, you have to change or not. Okay, write it. Now this is my event. Perfect. Now, at the time of triggering event, you are going to perform some operation, right? Which operation? Finding the sum. That means you have to write some statements. If you want to write some statements, where you can write it? Inside a function or not? If you want to write some functionality which is related to, okay, if you want to write some of set of statements which is related to one functionality, where you can write inside the function. So here, it's a class. Okay, before converting this to a component, it's like a class only, right? Okay, inside the class, you know, right, how I can create a function, how we can create a method, how we can create a method. Okay, my class is a collection of variables and methods. So that can we create one method? Okay, how we can create a method syntactically? Okay, you can write one of the method like this, you can write one of the method like this. Any number of methods you can write it or not. Any number of methods you can write it, no problem at all. Okay, done. Now inside the class one member, if you want to access, how we can access? Inside the class one member, if you want to access, how we can access? By using an object. Inside the class, how we can represent an object? By using a current class object, this or not. So that here at the time of clicking on this particular button, inside which method you return your functionality, that function you can give it to this guy, that method you can give it to this guy. What is the difference between function and method? The function directly we can call it, the method we are going to call with an object reference. So that this one is, we can say like what? A method. Okay, so at that time of I'm going to use this method to write your functional. So this method you have to give as a handler for this particular click event or not. So how we can give it? Okay, on click equals to okay, function add, like this I can give it or not. Okay, now see, if it is like a JavaScript, it's a simple syntax like this only or not. if it's like a JavaScript. Okay, now it's a React. It is not a right syntax, but it throws an errors. We can fix that error one by one error we can fix it. Okay, on click also first you put like CLICK like this, then that what happens, we'll see. Now if you come here, invalid event handler property on click. Did you mean on click? See, my JSX throws a warning. Okay, invalid event handler property on click. Did you mean a on click? Yes, I mean that one only. So that can we change it? If I click on this one, see what happened? Nothing is happened. Now can we change this one to on click? Done. Now let me come here. Okay, can I refresh my page? See this. Okay, remove this one. Again, one more warning it throws. Can you read this one? See. Expected on-click listener to be a function instead got a value of string type. Okay, if you read this one, you can understand. Expected on-click listener to be a function. See, for this click event, this is only my listener method or not. Okay, he said like on-click listener to be a function instead got a value of string. My listener to be a function. Okay, but I got like a what? A string or not. See here, you enclosed with what? Double quote is nothing but it's a string or not. So that can we remove this one? Can I remove this one? Yes, I remove. Now, if you come here, can I refresh my page again? Now, it throws a JSX error. See, syntax error, inline Babel script. JSX value should be either an expression or quoted JSX text. Quoted with JSX text. Okay, here see, JSX value should be either an expression or quoted with JSX text is nothing but quoted is nothing but just you can place like quoted is nothing but like this inside an element. Okay, in this format, quoted format. Okay, either that format or he said like it should be either an expression. Should be either an expression. So that here see my function add. My function add. It's a JSX. It's a JSX one. It is like what? This part is like a function call. My function call is nothing but JavaScript, right? My JSX is the combination of what? My JSX is the combination of HTML, XML, and JavaScript. It's a JavaScript function or not. If it is like a JavaScript function, that should be inside an expression or not. That should be inside an expression or not. That should be okay. Run that JavaScript operation has to perform. That should be inside an expression. That is only inside. So that my expression is like this. Yes or no? Okay. 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 Now, my next error. See this. Okay. Now, function add not defined. This function add is not there, but it's there, right? Why? Why? Because how we can call a function inside the class directly? Is it possible to call the method inside the class? Okay, the method inside the class we never call directly. Okay, how we can call inside the class member? Okay, the member inside the class by using an object only or not. So you should not call directly like this. If you call, then the time it gives me it throws an error like what? Function add is not defined, like this only. So that if you want to call one of the member inside the class, how we can? By using an object. So inside the class, how we can represent an object? By using this or not. So that you can call like this. You can call like this. Can we write one alert message here? Alert function add call. Okay, now can I refresh my page? Yes, my function add call. Working or not working? Working or not working? My function add called. Okay, now at the time of refresh my page, do you want me to call that function? At the time of loading, you want me to call this function? At the time of loading, you want me to call this function? Or at the time of clicking on the button, you want me to call it? At the time of clicking on the button, you should have to call that function. See, At the time of clicking on the button, it's not working. At the time of loading, that function called or not? Got it or not? Okay, so yes, my function is calling, but it is not the right time to call or not. When you want to call, at the time of clicking on the button only, that function has to call or not. See here, at the time of loading my render, at the time of calling the render method, this all content is going to execute or not. Now see here, this dot function add, you directly calling or not. At the time of loading only, this function add, you are calling or not. Yes or no? Okay, because of this one only, at the time of loading, this function is going to call. So they said like, hey, give me a function, not a function call. Give me a function. Which function you want me to call at the time of clicking on the button? Give me a function. At the time of clicking on this particular button, I am going to call it. I am going to call it. Instead of function call, what you have to give? What you have to give? You should have to give a function only, a method only or not, instead of method call. If you give like this, then at the time of loading only, the method is going to call. I don't want to call at the time of loading. So that simply give a method. Now it's not a method call. You've given a method to this guy. At the time of clicking on the button, this guy is going to call this particular method or not. Now can you come here? Can I refresh my page? Now see, at the time of clicking on the button, my function add called or not. At the time of clicking on the button, the function add called. Simple. Okay, so that this is the way we are going to handle what? We are going to handle an event in React. So can we write some of the events? Okay, not in our requirement. It's not there in our requirement. Okay, you can write some events. Okay, blur event. On blur, I want to execute one of the function. On blur, I want to execute this function. On focus, I want to execute this function. Can anyone tell? For this blur, for this focus, I want these two methods. Can anyone? How we can write the code? Okay, come here. First, go to your JavaScript console. On blur, copy it. On blur, copy it. To whom you want me to write the event? Yes, to this guy. Okay, it should be what? Camel case. Camel case. Now come to this side. Which method you want me to execute? Which method you want me to execute? F1. So that can I write like this? F1. Then which error you can get it? Which error you can get it? You can get like a I'm expecting a function, not a string. So you can remove this one. Then remove this one. Then which type of error you can get it? Inline Babel script. It should be inside an expression or it's like a coded string. Okay, then the time you should have to write inside an expression. Now which error you will get it? Now which error you will get it? Okay, F1 is not defined. F1 is not defined. Okay, so that if you want to call one class member by using an object only, we can call it. Yes. Now you will not get any error, but it's called when at first time load it's going to call. See my F1 called first time load only it's called. You want me to call first time load on blur, so that don't call it. Don't call. Okay, you can give the method to that guy. That guy is going to call or not. Now say this. So my first method focus blur. See it came out. My function one F1 called or not. Okay, now on focus. Focus. Okay, how we can write it? This dot F2. That's it. Okay, now okay, if I put like mouse over on this H1, okay, I want to execute this method. So how we can on mouse over, which method you want me to execute? This dot F3. Now say this. The first one is like blur executed. Number one F1 called. Okay, something is F1. F1 called multiple times. F1 for what? Blur only, right? Okay. Okay. Now blur. Perfect. Focus. F2 called focus. Okay, it's focused on. Because of this one only this. It should not recursive. Why recursive? F2 called. This is my F2. My F2 called for what? On focus. Okay, if I focus this one. Input on focus this dot F2, my F2 called. Okay. On focus spelling correct only. On focus. Control A, Control C. Okay, I can remove this blur. Blur is working right. Now come here. F2 called. Directly by F2 called. Should open with server. Focused. Why it's recursive? This is my F1, this is my F1, this is my F2 call, this is my F3. Where is that recursive? Keep on recursive. Why? Well, only on focus only there. Now we can check. Okay, only one is there. Focus. I'm not able to enter anything. Spelling mistake, right? Top propagation. It's not affected, right? Now that I'm being called multiple times. Yeah, but why? Okay, do one thing. In JavaScript, just write one simple text box. Okay, there you can write like on focus. Yeah. Okay, only one. Okay, this is your JavaScript, right? You've called. Mhm. JavaScript also same issues. They're not for React or something. This is the JavaScript, right? Maybe each and every time it's going to focus. The thing is, I thought like I focused, right? Okay. Now it should not be like this. It should not be alert. If I come outside, then it's like again we focus like this. Can we do one thing? Instead of this alert, can we put like console message? Yes, it's focused, right? Well, because I came out, alert default behavior is what? Once you stop this one, again it's going to focus wherever the last focus is there. Again, it's going to focus the number that method is going to call. I'm trying to close that one again. Okay, again, once I closed, my default, my alert message behavior is what? Alert box behavior. The latest focused element is there, right? Again, it's going to focus to that particular element only. So that once I close this one, again is focused to this one. Keep on focusing or not. That is the issue. Got it right? Understand or not? Okay. The thing is, if I put like this, yes, focused only. Now, if I come out, is nothing but what? Blur. If I close this one, my alert default behavior is like, which one is the latest focused? Yeah, number two, right? Again, once it's closed, it's focused to focused to this one. So again, it's focused. Now, which element is going to trigger again? My focus event triggered. Now, again, I'm trying to see this focused. Now, close this one, focused. Always, it's like focus or not. So instead of this, you can do one thing. Now, close this. This is the one, right? You can write like console.log of like this. Okay, now if you come here, okay, where you want me to place that one, this dot off. Here you want to place like this. This is the syntax. Okay, just comment this one. First of all, with console, it is going to work or not. Check it. Okay, now I focus this one. Now on focus this dot f2. This is my f2, right? So, refresh. Okay, f2 called focused. I blur again focused, blur again focused. Okay, now you can write like console message is going to work well because I'm not coming out. If I write like alert do call. Now you can open this dot off of focus. Okay, here by default my current object is not there. What is the bind? I will tell later. Now check it. Now if I claim to call, this dot off is not there. This dot off is not a function. So inside this off is not there, so it's not a valid syntax. So that alert should not be okay, because you come out and again focused. So that this is the one. Okay, the next one. This bind also not required. Leave it. Okay, here blur on blur equals to what? This dot f1. This dot f1. Here on mouse over. Mouse over is what? This dot here. Okay, here also can put like console.log f3 or how can you check it? Now first sum. Okay, sum I removed, right? Okay. Now see focus on mouse over. This is the one element, right? See mouse over working, blur working, focus working. Okay, sum. I didn't write anything for sum, I guess. Yeah, I can write like on click equals dot function blur focus in the console. So this focus is working. Sum function to call. Now see mouse over. Okay, mouse over. Nothing is expected or not. Okay, this is the way we are going to write our events in React. Okay then, remaining things will say in tomorrow. These all are not required for us. These all are not required. We have to focus on where? On pick only, so that all these things you can remove. Okay then, thanks guys, thanks for joining. We'll see remaining things in tomorrow's class.